So a few years ago, when I first started teaching PE, I was looking through the new BC curriculum and noticed that we have a little gap um, in how we're teaching health. And there wasn't a ton of focus on health in middle school, particularly in the grade that I was teaching at the time, which was grade 6. So I developed a program called Healthy Choices. Students basically tracked their sleep, their food, their screen time, and their exercise for an entire week. And at the end, we totaled up like how many hours they slept, how many hours of screen time they had, how many hours of exercise. We watched TED Talks and learned about sleep and how much would be good for their age group. So they reflected on that, and then they made a little pie chart to represent their sleep in the total week and how much they had, and we set some goals. Then we learned about screen time and how much is appropriate according to doctors and psychologists for their age group. And then they made graphs to compare their screen time to what was like the doctor recommended time. And then we looked at exercise and how much they should have compared to what is useful and good for a child their age. And we also compared like their screen time to their exercise, and then they set goals and they learned a lot. We watched TED Talks on both of those topics. Screens overstimulate our brains and can make us really easily distracted. And we spend a lot of time sitting around, and the blue light from the screens can keep us awake at night. And all of those things, I don't think help us regulate ourselves. At the end, students had a really good sense of where they could improve in their overall health. So that was the sleep portion. Then we did nutrition. So I've now changed the project since we have a new Canada Food Guide. But basically they were at that time looking at their meals and figuring out if they had enough vegetables and fruits, and how much dairy, that sort of thing, protein. But now that the food guide is new, it's half a plate of fruits and vegetables, a quarter whole grains, and a quarter lean proteins. So we had a lot of really good discussion around like, well, what are you eating? What are your choices? And also talking about the idea that some people in countries don't have enough food, so they don't get proper nutrition. But we here in Canada have lots of food, but do we choose to put the nutritious food into our bodies? Or are we in a rush? So it was really, really great to see them just being reflective learners and making their own changes. I gave them the opportunity to learn this, and then they took it forward and set goals and made changes. So over the years, there have been tons of kids who have come up to me and said, like, wow, I didn't realize that all of this was happening in my brain when I'm staring at my screen all the time. I've had some students come to me and say, okay, so on these days I didn't do much, so now I'm gonna go outside instead before I play like on my screen. It's also really important like, during this process to not let them feel judged, because they're taking personal information and creating graphs for you, right? And so it's very impactful for them. There have been lots who have come to me and said, wow, I didn't know this, like, thank you. Our class environment is very healthy because they have enough time moving, and then when they're learning, they're on task. It seems like the behavior issues that I've seen in my earlier days of teaching before I focused a lot on health, they've disappeared quite a bit. I'm here to encourage them in their learning so that they can be successful in life, not just in academics, but be a successful person. Just learn about how to balance their time between sleeping and screens and exercise and academics and all of their other extracurricular activities and family. And I just want to help them have a really great future by giving them all of the information that I can.